Check the description for the following discount codes. My experience with this 8KX is a tricky one to explain. There's some really good things about this, but then there's some really bad things about this as well. And it's definitely not going to be a headset for everybody. And it's probably not a headset I'd recommend for the average VR user. It's definitely going to be niche. And that niche is probably the sim community, sim racing and flight sim. Because the field of view, if you can use it, and the resolution is just incredible. It is second to none. When I was flicking between this and Quest 2 and G2, the Quest 2 and the G2 just, like going from being able to see this to just this, when you've not experienced this field of view before, you don't really know what you're missing. I mean, we all know we've got narrow fields of view in VR, but until you put on a headset that doesn't have it and it's way around here, and then you go back, I was like, oh, okay, this is a bit crap. But that does come at a cost. So that field of view is incredible. The resolution means there's no screen door effect. Like I couldn't see any at all, even if I was looking for it. So that's really, really good. The build quality, I like the text, I like whatever they've coated this in feels really nice. I do like that. And the build quality feels okay. When I look at things like the hinges, you know, here and the way they're held in, I don't know whether it'll even show up on camera, there's a small pin through there and then it kind of hooks round. I get a slight feeling of concern about how strong that connection there really is. And the same where it articulates here, it just feels a little bit weak. And I don't know whether people have had an issue with that or not. I know early Pimax headsets did have some quality issues, plastics breaking and stuff, but feels a little weak, a little flimsy, but only time would tell with that. The foam padding is nice. It's not as nice as a G2 or a Valve Index, but it's nice enough. One of the things I don't like, just sort of looking around the aesthetics of it, mine's come with this sort of optional audio kit, which is an absolute must, I might add, because the internal speakers are absolutely useless. The wiring for this is all external, so it utilises the 3.5mm headphone socket there. And so you've got these wires just sort of dangling around, you know, sorry, it's all flapping about. Dangling around that you just have to kind of tuck out the way. Feels a little unfinished, you know, considering this is what, $1,200 or $1,300 headset. I'd like to see an internal solution for these speakers, and these speakers should really come as standard anyway, in which case you could have an internal solution. Speaking about wiring, the cable clip here and here, it just seems to pop out all the time in use, so it doesn't work particularly well, but it is there. The head strap itself, like this actual top Velcro bit, is perfectly fine for going over your head. You've got your usual adjustment at the back there, that works just fine. But for me and my head shape, this just isn't a comfortable headset. It's heavy, it's bulky. Obviously it's going to be bulky, we've got a massive field of view, so it can't be helped. But it feels heavy in use. And I think partly because of the way the strap articulates like this, when it's on my head and I move left to right, fast-paced shooters, the headset wobbles left to right as well. And so that is a little bit of a ball ache. And in fact, I'll put it on. People always moan when I don't put things on in videos, even though you can't feel what I'm feeling, you can see it on my head. So if I move left to right, you'll see it wobbling, and that's pressing hard on the front of my nose as well. And if you watch Niels Huizinveldt's video of this, he actually got a blister on his nose from exactly the same problem. The other issue I have, and this is face shape dependent, I have phenomenal light leakage from here. I can get my fingers in the side here. The gap is so big. In fact, I can get 3 fingers in No comments about that, please. I can get 3 fingers in without even barely touching the sides. So I have a huge amount of light leakage, and if I were to do this up any tighter, it would start to hurt my head. This is already done up too tight for what I would like, to be honest. So for me, now my missus tried this, and she actually finds it quite comfortable and she doesn't suffer the light leakage. So it's very much going to be face shape dependent. And I'm using the thicker foam face pad. It comes with 2 of these, thin one and a thicker one. So for me, there's just a phenomenal amount of light leakage. It's heavy and rubs here on my nose. It flaps around. It's just the most uncomfortable headset I've ever used. And I have, thankfully, you can play in the pitch black because it uses the external HTC trackers. So you can play in the dark and then the light leakage isn't an issue if it's nighttime. Of course, if it's daytime, I can literally have light with reflecting off of the lenses at me from in the room around me. So maybe there's aftermarket facial solutions, I don't know. But that's going to be personal because that's my face shape. Katie, it fitted her well. She said she actually found it quite comfortable. So, you know, this is very much a personal thing when it comes to fit and comfort, but I'm just sharing how it feels for me. Maybe your face and head is a similar shape to mine, who knows. So for me, it wobbles around, it hurts my nose, there's huge amounts of light leakage, it's generally heavy and uncomfortable. Going back to the speakers, which are an absolute must-have, they also come with these little added cups that you can clip on so that they then sort of, you know, more sort of on-ear headphones. They make a big difference. And the sound is actually really good on these compared to something like the Quest, you know, or an old Rift S or something like that. The sound here is really, really nice. I'd say it's almost on par with like the G2 and the Valve Index. So they are nice speakers. And with these on, you get a lot more bass because it is cupping your ears. So the sound is good. The field of view is really, really good. Like, it's a bit of a pain having to go back to other headsets, to be honest. But I will for a few reasons. Oh, the IPD adjustment, which is physical, that's like the most unresponsive dial ever. You can move it like three turns, not complete turns, but 3, you'll know what I mean. You can push it 1, 2, 3 before it even starts to do anything sometimes, and then other times you move it once and it starts to adjust the IPD. So I don't know what's going on with that, but it just doesn't work very well. What else? So yeah, that's comfort, fit, the audio. The field of view is amazing, the IPD adjustment. So overall image quality, everyone knows we've got lens distortion with these ultra wide field of view Pimax headsets. Everyone knows that. If you've got one and you say you haven't got lens distortion, well, you're lying because there is. So how bad is it and does it ruin the image? That's the real question. For me, because it's mostly in your peripheral vision, I say mostly because it's not exclusively in your peripheral vision. The best way to describe this is that it's a bit like looking through a fishbowl or maybe even looking through, you know, a glass of water. That's the sort of distortion you get, but it isn't just around the outside of the image. It encroaches quite far into your field of view and is very, very noticeable. As you pan your head left to right, the world around you literally warps and distorts, whereas in a normal VR headset, obviously it doesn't. It's all geometrically accurate. So that really is a big drawback. And overall clarity, even in the sweet spot, you know, when you get it in just the right place that it's looking its sharpest, for me, that still isn't as sharp as a G2 or a Quest 2, having flicked between all 3 over the last few days. When I went from using this to putting on my Quest 2, aside from noticing the massively reduced field of view, the second thing I noticed was, oh wow, this is clear, you know? Like you can look around with your eyes and most of the image is clear. Whereas even with this, in the center, in the sweet spot, it's still not as sharp. Now, I've read some comments from people saying that they don't agree with that and that it is as sharp, but the unit I've got, you know, because maybe there's some QC issues, who knows? The unit I've got is just not that sharp. And we're talking running native resolution, you know, on any of the available field of view, because you can go from wide to normal to small to potato, and it will bring the field of view in accordingly. So no matter what I use on the highest quality settings, native resolution, it's just, the overall image is just not that clear. And for me, that is a deal breaker. When I went back to the G2 or the Quest 2, the sharpness difference was massive, as was the colors and the contrast ratio. The colors, contrast ratio and God rays on this headset are very average. They're not really bad, but they're also far from being very good. You know, the Quest 2 even has better colors, I would say, than this. And the Quest 2 doesn't have the best colors compared to a G2. Oh, and if you own a Quest 2 and you haven't done this, turn the brightness slider down to halfway. You get much better blacks and contrast ratio. Little tip there. So very average colors, very average God rays, and below average clarity. Now, I have played around with all the settings, and I've been on the forums and the support, and I've tweaked everything you can tweak and made sure everything in the Steam settings is as everyone recommends. I've adjusted the individual IPD offsets to make sure everything's spot on. So, don't write in the comments, oh, Carl, it's not clear because you haven't adjusted it. I've adjusted everything. I spent hours and hours and hours tweaking this, because once you see that huge field of view, you don't want to go away from it. So I wanted it to be as good as it can be, because for sim racing or flight sim, there's just, that field of view is incredible. To be able to see your mirrors in your peripheral vision without having to turn your head a substantial amount is an absolute game changer. But it does come at the cost of a blurry image that is a little washed out compared to other headsets. And that's also, well, yeah, this is the next point we should go on to, that's also incredibly hard to run. So, whilst we have this huge field of view, if you want to run this at the native resolution, which is essentially 4K per eye, give or take, you need, and I do mean need, a 3090. I have a 3080 and a 5800X CPU, so I have a strong PC. The only way I could run native at 75 Hertz was by reducing the field of view down to potato. So effectively reducing the number of rendered pixels. That's the only way I could run native resolution on this. And of course, when I did find that tiny little passing glimpse of a sweet spot, it was really, really sharp, but still not as sharp as a Quest 2 or a G2. Again, this could just be my headset, I don't know. It seems to be looking around, it seems to be lots of people have lots of different experiences. So yeah, you need a super strong PC. If you run it at the lower resolution and it upscales, you lose a tiny bit of that sharpness, but you wouldn't even notice because of the overall blurriness of the image. So if you run it at the lower resolution, which then goes to 114 Hertz, and this is a weird one actually, it would be handy if we have more refresh rate options, a bit like you do with the 5K Super, because running at the lower resolution at 114 Hertz is still quite a strain on some GPUs. If you could drop from 114 down to 72 or 75, sorry, like the native res is, that would free up loads of resources. A perfect balance for this would be running at the lower res at 75 Hertz on the maximum field of view. And I think a lot more people would be able to run that. And if you can get over the blurriness of the image, not just your peripherals, but for me, it's not quite sharp in the middle either, then this is an amazing experience for sim racing and flight sim, and even things like Half-Life Alyx and stuff like that. But to be honest, these days, I don't use wired headsets for first-person shooters or anything other than sim racing or flight sim, because I'm used to not having a wire attached to me and being able to spin around and jump and duck and roll across the floor and all sorts. And you just can't do it with a wired headset. You just get all tangled up and it's a pain. So for me, this headset, if you can deal with a blurry image, is a perfect, not perfect, sorry, is its perfect use case is sim racing or flight sim. The audio is good. The field of view is phenomenally good. The build quality, average to good. Comfort-wise, depends on the shape of your face. As I say, audio's great. The software, the PyTool software, perfectly usable. I had no issues with that. It was step-by-step instructions, really easy to follow. No problems whatsoever. I did have the headset go black a couple of times and have to click the reboot in the Pi tool. But that was whilst I was changing options and stuff, so maybe it had a little moment. I'm not sure why it did that. Oh, the other thing, in completely black scenes, like maybe the Steam VR, if you don't have the home load up, there is like a white noise all over the screen, little sparkles like a star field. And if you're in a game that has a very dark area, you can see it there as well. Now, I did some research into this, as I do with anything before making a review. This problem's been around for over 2 years on various Pimax headsets, and sometimes people say getting a cable replaced under warranty sorts it out. Other people say it doesn't. Other people are saying Pimax asks for you to show them a video of the sparkling effect. I don't know how on earth they would expect you to do that. We haven't all got cameras capable of doing through the lens footage, and even if we did, it's a very subtle noise across the image. You know, if you don't look for it in game, you don't really see it. So, you know, again, a bit like the sort of blurry image, you tune out of it when you're in the moment and you're racing or you're flying or whatever it might be that you're doing. So, yeah, I mean, obviously I haven't mentioned tracking, but that's because this doesn't come with controllers or trackers. You have to buy the HTC base stations, and either the Valve Index controllers, which is what I was using, or the Vive ones, but I wouldn't recommend buying those for any reason because they're awful. You can buy a whole package from Pimax that includes those controllers and base stations. That's $1,800 odd. And this is another thing that really, I think, is a big negative for this. It's the price. If you just want to buy the headset on its own, $1,200-$1,300, which is probably what, £1,000, is an awful lot of money for something that's got, you know, it's almost got that sort of beta feel to it, a little bit unfinished, you know, wires hanging around, IPD knob very vague and doesn't work very accurately, you know, sort of things that flap around on your head, and it's, you know, the sparkling, just it's almost like, all right, this is a test unit and there's going to be a final version coming, is a good way to sum this up. But that field of view, it is something else. And, you know, obviously it comes at a cost of this massive bulk on the front of your face and a really high-end PC to try and run it. But it is amazing, you know, it really, you put that Quest 2 or G2 back on and it's like, oh, I literally feel like this now. So I'm torn, you know. I'm going to tweak, I want to try and use this some more in sim racing. I do get motion sickness if I sim race in VR for too long, so I tend not to race in VR anyway. But with this new increased field of view, I want to, because it's a really good experience. You have to just, you know, you just got to put up with, and put up is the right word, put up with the blurriness, you know, and the average colours and black levels. Most of that you kind of just forget about after a while because you are having such a good time. But from a review point of view, I have to tell you how it is. So for some people, you're not going to care. You're going to go, wow, this field of view is incredible. All right, it's a bit blurry and the colours aren't as saturated and the blacks aren't quite as good. I don't care. I'm having an amazing time. I can see the whole planet around me and it's just brilliant. And the same will go, the comfort again, because totally face and head shape dependent. So, you know, your mileage will vary with that. But that's really my review. The field of view is absolutely amazing. You know, the sound is good. The comfort is good if your head shape is the right shape. You know, tracking obviously works fine with the base stations and controllers, as it would do the best there is. Software is absolutely fine, no issues with that. You will need a 3090 to even try and run it at the native res. And even then, depending on what game you play, you're going to struggle to do it at the full field of view, which is, of course, the whole reason you bought the headset, for the field of view. If you have to turn the field of view down to get it to run well, you should have bought a different headset. So, and obviously you can adjust settings in game as well. But what we don't want to have to do is go massive field of view, high resolution, and then turn all the visual, you know, gloss down to next to nothing. So it looks like we're playing a PS1 game, but in high resolution, wild field of view VR. It's almost like, this resolution and field of view could do with coming in another generation of graphics cards time when we can run that without too much trouble to get the most out of it, you know. And at the same time, hopefully the lenses or the way they do this might have improved as well, so you don't get that distortion or that overall blur. As I say, for me, the sweet spot was something that still wasn't that sharp, along with overall, you know, off-center clarity. The whole experience was just a little blurry, in spite of fully tweaking the IPD offsets and doing everything I could do to make it great. But that's really my review of the Pimax 8KX. I've got a 5K Super here as well, which I'm going to be reviewing at some point. I am on holiday, probably at the time this video comes out, but I'll get round to that. There is a link in the description, with a discounted link. Use the code KG20 on the Pimax website. It's all in the description if you want one. I recommend it if you don't mind a blurry image and all the negative stuff listed and all you care about is having this stupid field of view. And that's why I say it's not for everybody. But if you want it and you've got the budget because it's expensive, then it's certainly good fun to play around with. And then when you go back to the others, you're like, oh, why can't we have this clarity, like G2 or Quest 2 clarity, with the field of view of the Pimax? That's what we really want. And then for it to be wireless as well, you know, that would be like the most amazing headset on the planet right now. But yes, anyway, enough of my waffle. I look forward to hearing other people's comments in the comments and experiences. But that's my review as sort of accurately and fairly as I can be. Try not to be too hard on it, because the sacrifices you make are for a huge field of view, but at the same time, it's $1,300 for that sort of money. You expect the best of the best, so you can be hard on it, you know. At least that's my perspective. Anyway, enough of the waffle. As always, thank you very much for watching, and take it easy.